Kubor ka Batisi TV. Lawan Rashapi da ka Frank Motors. I am Tata Punch. Price starting at 5.80 lakhs. Ringkat bat ka net foodish. Ordar mapi nginwan ra amangi hakir dob yeng jongpi.
Withdrawal of the bill. Inqilab Zindabad. Inqilab Zindabad. Inqilab.
Kum kajing PYRSHAH ya ka Sarkar Pedeng ka bawanra ha Parliament ya ka Electricity Amendment Bill R1000 nagbentaban penbait thamai ya ka Electricity Act R1000 lai rengkat lang bar NONGTREI jong atnat sam boarding ha ka ri India barakawai NONGTREI jong ka Meghalaya Energy Corporation Limited ha barakawai ka jela kila pelong da kajing sange trekam ka ba katto kanikenta ha ka lasngi ublai ka pratarik unailar R1000 Hagani ke jela Meghalaya, yagani ke ＪIAKHIH ke bajai-jai haki office trekam jangka Meghalaya Energy Corporation Limited lakot pelong daga Coordination Committee of Registered MeECL Association and Unions na kebentaban PYRSHAH ya ke jingwan ra yagani ke bill hapo ke Parliament nabakan keta ya ke tenat sam boarding ya ke pait ba nong thang boarding ya ke NONGTREI jangka tenat sam boarding bad ya ke engineer Kani ke JIAKHIH jong NONGTREI ke tenat sam boarding hakari India barakawai kadai na marba ke Sarkar Pedeng House nem R1000 arpuai kala menjur lengba ke jingtho balapha Shaka United Kisan Morsha haga khandai tarik banai no pra R1000 arpuai bayaka Electricity Amendment Bill onom ra satya ha Parliament klem da ya mir jingmut bat klem da ya slok shwa bat ki kan hon boper kuntubru ya ki nongrep President jangka Coordination Committee of Registered MeECL Association and Unions uba PK Shulet habakren haga JIAKHIH ke balalong ha Pelau jangka office trekam ke MeECL ke badan holum jingshai Shillong ulaong ba wat hapedeng ke jingyai kerpat jangka National Coordination Committee of Electricity Employees and Engineers batna ke All India Power Engineers Federation penban ke Sarkar Pedeng kamshim lakhot yakren satya bat ki engineer lani ya ki NONGTREI wat tang shi sen ru ban ya mer jingmut shua ban ra ya ke Electricity Amendment Bill R1000 arpuar hapo ke Parliament
Inqilab Zindabad. Inqilab Zindabad.
Employees of my organization MeECL that I get my bread and butter from. Today we have assembled here again to raise a voice on the undemocratic way that our rights are going to be trampled by the central government, which is supposed to be the guardian of the citizen of the country. The central government, without consulting any of the stakeholders, and in spite of giving assurances in writing to the Farmers Union, it has gone ahead of introducing the bill in the Parliament and passing it without any concern for the feelings of the employees of power sector, the engineers and the families at the same time. Friends, today we are gathering here to demonstrate, to raise our voice against this undemocratic move of the central government, in consonance with the move that has been called by the National Coordination Committee of Electricity Employees and Engineers. Kormau being a chapter of the NCOEEE, we are bound to go hand in hand with the rest of the country. Let me tell you, as of now, the discussion on the bill is going on in the Parliament. And I'm told that all 25 lakhs employees across the country are demonstrating against this. Let me highlight a little about this bill. From time to time, for the last 5 years, this bill has seen many amendments. We have demonstrated against the bill once in 2020. Thereafter, there was a lull. Suddenly, just 2 days ago, the bill was released by the central government. Even though the bill doesn't figure in the list of bills to be introduced in the monsoon session, the central government has gone ahead by introducing this bill today. This bill is draconian in its features. Some of the essence of the bill, I will tell you, is like this. The bill is going to introduce the concept of the concept of distribution companies in the state. These distribution companies, which are going to be owned by private firms, do not need license. They just need to register as a company. And within the 60 to 70 days of submitting the application, if the appropriate authority doesn't grant that permission, the permission is deemed to be granted. It is by force. And now what will happen? This main feature of the bill will open a floodgate of corruption and favoritism, and which is going to be very, very detrimental to the consumers. Secondly, there is a concept of multiple distribution companies which will coexist along with the existing utility. In other words, some private companies will come in Shillong, or they will cherry pick in our profit centers, and we cannot deny them the access. MECL will have to supply energy and coexist with these companies. This will lead to cherry picking and will also lead to many consumers, those who are subsidizing consumers, opting for the private companies. And however, when the subsidizing consumers move to the private parties, the subsidized consumers will remain with the utility. In our state, it will remain with MECL. This will directly create an unnecessary and huge burden on the exchequer and the state exchequer. Further, the bill also prohibits the state load dispatch center, the regional load dispatch center, to dispatch any load until and unless upfront payment of dues is being cleared as agreed in the contract. All of us understand that small state like us, which reels under financial constraint, this is directly going to affect the state and also the consumers. Now, one of the features which is very, very detrimental also is that harsh penalties will also be imposed for non-compliance of renewable energy purchase obligation. And as we know, across the country, utilities like our MECB does not have solar power plants to meet that obligations. And to meet these obligations, distribution companies like our organization will have to purchase power, renewable power, from the private parties. We know big names that I know in the country which operates in this sector. I've known of this Adani Green, I've heard of this Urja Global, I've heard of this Orion Green, and just recently even Ambani also have joined the bandwagon for renewable energy. So you can understand the interest of the private parties in this. So indirectly or directly, the this bill is going to benefit the private sectors. Now, what is most disturbing is the fact that this bill is going to usurp the power of the state. We all know that electricity is a concurrent subject. It features in Article 7 of the Constitution. Among the other subjects, power is also a concurrent subject. It means any decision that be taken in the state has to be taken in concurrence with the state government. But here, what the central government is doing is it is robbing away the power of the state government in finalizing, in making policies as far as distribution of electricity in the states across the country is concerned. Finally, to my view, the central government, by opening this open access through this bill in the LT level, will be creating chaos in the last mile distribution system. Why chaos? Because in the bill there is no mention about the infrastructure, the new infrastructure. If these companies come, who will provide these new infrastructures to provide electricity power to the consumer? There is no mention. There is no clarity about whom to blame if there is a delay. And there is also no mention about the implications, particularly financial implications on the utility, the state. And also there is no clarity regarding what will happen to agriculture and also to small businesses. And most importantly, my brother and sister, we don't know. There is no mention whatsoever what will happen to the electricity employees of the nation. There's about 27 lakhs and their families. Therefore, to my view, the government did not bother to explain all these facts. And that's why it is a detrimental bill which we must oppose tooth and nail. And I say this bill must be referred to a standing committee. Let the parliamentary standing committee study it. And important stakeholders like the unions and associations of the electricity employees and engineers be a part of the process. With this, I would say long live Seeker Mao, long live NCO EE. Inqilab Jindabad!
Ka bill ka bagi khat ka Electricity Amendment Bill 2022. Hakane ka bill la wanra hakaba an IT no sekiriu shimet di private party di bensam ya ka boarding sya borok kawai kari India. Ngakwa ban ong nyepi ba hak state ke jongi hakaba ke sarkar India kaladai ban ye penbait lang bat ki state government handrei la shule don bor PE ngakwa ban penpa hong ne baki jing tuna jong ki jing trekam jong ki power utilities hapo ke jela ke jongi ngan kren ya ka ai ke badai syapang ke jela ke jongi kalong om nom benta ke jing tuna bentrekam ki NONGTREI nakaliang ke jong ki NONGTREI ni trei ar phusau kenta ki lineman ki jugali ki badan napo ki power stations, ki substations, ki engineer, baru ki pendap ya ke duty ke jongki, bat ki try hok ya ke duty ke jongki, what happening? Ki jing tuna ki babon, kini hakini ki benai ki baladep, hakaba wan lanchok Claire yang uslap handrai hapo ars ni lais ni lala ban penbiang yakilat barok kene kadai kai kejingtrei kabakum ki nongtrei ni ya ka service ka jongi syaki paiba harai ka baskosi kalom baki bor ki bahalor ngam tip na ka kadao kadan bai kum kata ka jing tubu ka jongki ban pani bakane ka utility ka MeECL kala fail bat badai ban handover no syaki private ngakwa bani thu ipi hangne badagi pau hajar crore la shim yakini kilon nakabanta jongno ban snai kilan ban bhai kilan ban bhai substation ban bhai power station hadian nangta ban handover no segi private kene kalau ko besmosi badi ka loan mano ban siu hab ban siu naka tax ka jonga ka jongpi bat kibreu jongkari India kibasiu ya ka tax kata kadai ka ka policy jongka central government ngakwa bani thu pi hangne bangadak siyo ban pule ya ka wei na ka financial report ka boong ba hakine ki sansnem ka jongka ne government jongka India lama hado shipo hajar lak crore shipo hajar lak crore yaki company private ki bahe ki bara shim ki loan ki jongki napo ki bank kata kadai ke jingtrei jongkan ka sarkar India ke jongi katba phini ibat bai ki shaula ki yen ki jongpi lahap ban punduna kagas silinder ke ba nyau snap menchua niyo laispa san phau tengka menta kapoi syaka khatwe spa sau phusan tengka rung subsidi hapo ka account janga san phau lai tengka jai ho modi ji kene kadai ke ba kene ka sarkar kale nakabanta jongi ki paiba arpo nyolak kumbalaong di presiden menta kasni ginongtrei jong ki badan hapo ki power sector jong ke India borok away ki PYRSHAH yakane ka bill kum ki nangyalam jong kasi karbau ni kwa ban penpau hakmat jong pi hakane ka por basko ba benlong ki balapan kre bangin mi syakmat ngin up ya ka karai jong ka National Coordination Committee bat kum bangos go tho ba lada kane ka bel ka pas ngimban se ngihap ban straight bat ban sis walk ngakwa ban bu akmat jong pi hakne ka por ban kali lada ka poi ho tau pot bangin sis walk hato pya kloin em yes or no yes or no say yes nang ne khublei shibon tlawan ngakwa ban ang pi hakane ka por hang ne akmat barakhoi kan sapai ka por hakaba u chief minister jongi u power minister jongi u CMD jongi kin hak ban lek hakmat jogine ki private party ki ban run ya ka power hang ne ka state ka jongi ban request ya ki ban ang smobha I like yo paiba u jongi hakador ka babet lam kumta haka election ngila rem lam kumta haka election ngila rem kabaret kat ba u consumer domestic u hapan siu tam kata ka di ke betia trei pila je aslo ka jigem ku jampi baka software kan chom dor nyau phu pha kror lek kali ya software jaga nisak North East Space Center kat no ko software ka jomka han rai ka software hang ni pok ka jala ka jongi na betau smart meter ka dai nyopo pra kror tangka ka liyaki bakin chai bakin aga details ka software ayu ki ban rak ka ta hang ni kala dai ka por hakaba nyimla jo ban skap nyimla ban yi yaki khon ki ka jongi bakin lech pok ki madan siki surok bangin krong Shua ban poi ka taka po bangin krong mangi ngin pur krong yak sarkar ngin pulang yak leader bangin krong maki hi ki jinge bata ki noi kai ki yam ki kontraktual away ki department ki yam kala poi ka por hakaba mangi ngin salum lang yakini ki police borabhat ki beran na po ka state ka jongi bat ngin le ai ka way ka movement. Agree to that? Yes. Kalau ada kapor bagi trailang, kidan kita beli, di organisation, di berit, di syak kenyot. Kalau ada kapor kebangi mentah, yang hap penyerap yaki. Nyimla cuba senap. Kitangkan dia kawai, ngakwa ben request pi. Each one of you, at this moment, we should stand united. This is not only for us employees' future, but it is for the future generation of our youth, future generation of our state, for the survival of our state. Thank you very much. Jai!
I will not go into all of those points. I want to speak about one particular point. This whole trend of going towards privatization. Privatization, as we know, it has started since a long time back. By itself, perhaps, it is not an evil. It is required, but we need to see where it should be applied. As we have seen, the government before has applied the process of privatization to the sick industries, the sick public sector units, or the sick public sector enterprises. And perhaps that is the way, that is the scenario that is happening here. Definitely, we will see that over time, these public sector units will go down in their profitability, and one fine day, the government will say, oh, you are not performing, you are sick, you are unable to perform, you are not doing your duty. And what will happen is that they will sell us off at cheap prices. Look at what is happening all over the country. All our assets are being sold off to the private sector at cheap prices. And now the private sector is having a monopoly on all these items. These assets which are very important. These assets, as my colleagues have said, have been built up through the taxes that our grandparents, that our parents and you and me are paying as of now. These assets have not come out of thin air. They have come out of our tax money, the taxes that we pay to the government. Why should we hand over at such a cheap or throwaway price to the private sector? Why should we? And in fact, the question goes back to the concept of a public good. When something is a public good, why should you privatize it? Why should you privatize something that is a public good? Because public good by nature is supposed to serve everyone. Electricity by nature, it is a public good. So that when you make profits in the profitable areas, you also use those profits to subsidize the areas which cannot make profits, like the villages. In the villages, it is costly to provide power to them. Take a look at any of our villages down there in the Wa side. It is so costly to provide power to all these villages, kilometers all the way down there, and yet we do it. We do it because it is our obligation as a government company. We are supposed to provide welfare and development to all. Now what will happen is that the private people will come and they will take only the profit-making areas and force us to go outside where we are having very less profits or perhaps even zero profits. We may be going at a loss, and this does not make any sense. One thing that we are seeing about this proposed electricity amendment bill is that it tries, or it is attempting to gradually remove all the subsidies. We as employees, we feel that subsidies have to last in a country which has a poor or relatively less GDP per capita such as ours. Our income levels of our farmers is not enough yet to pay profitable prices of tariff. Our population of people who are under the poverty line, there are such a huge number of them. How can they pay the same prices as everyone else? And in fact, if you were to go for a tariff where you go by the average cost of supply, then the poor people will have to pay more than the rich people. And in fact, that is what we are seeing now in this particular state, as my colleague has already pointed out. The industrial houses are paying lower tariffs than me. And this is what we are seeing in the long run. And we feel that this bill has been pushed across very hurriedly. They have taken so much time to bring this bill into fruition from the years 1920, 21 onwards. They have taken so much time, and now they have given only 4 days or 5 days for people to study and to give their comments. There has been such an unprecedented rush to pass this bill. And we as employees, we feel that this bill is anti-people, it is anti-consumers, it is anti-employees. The stakeholders have not been taken into consultation. And therefore we protest. We protest because we want that there should be adequate consultation for all. There should be consultation with the stakeholders, because who are being affected? The whole country. Our future is being affected. And that is why we, at this day today, we are protesting against the introduction of this bill. And as my colleagues have said, we are standing in unison, we are standing in unity with the National Coordination Committee of Electricity Employees and Engineers. And if there should be more stringent steps taken by the government, we will go along with the National Coordination Committee and we will see what needs to be done in the days to come. We stand here in complete unity with one and all of the stakeholders, the common man, the consumers, the electricity workers, and we also stand for the future of the country.
Mentakasngi ngi NONGTREI jong ke MeECL hapo kashatri jong ka Coordination Committee of Registered Associations Union kaba pitip kung kor mau ngi mene ngila ya lumlang hang ni baro ki employees amdai tang hang ni ha Shillong handrai haman ki district headquarters kila yalum ban PYRSHAH ya kane ka electricity bill kaba ka central government kala wanra hapo ka yeng thau ain bahakli du ka kata angka parliament te ngi katkum ka jingbtha ka National Coordination Committee of Electricity Employees and Engineers lane ke NCOEEE yangi ke badai ke chapter jong ke NCOEEE ban ya PYRSHAH lang mentakasngi rengkat bat baro kari hakaba ngila yo jing tip entan ba baro ki ar pho nyau lak ki NONGTREI jong ke ni boarding ha baro ka ri ke wei kila ya mi shabar ni jing tre jong ki kumbingi mi mentakasngi pan PYRSHAH ya ke ni electricity bill balengi PYRSHAH ya ke ni electricity bill kadaw benengkong du ngi PYRSHAH ya ke ni electricity bill namar belemba ke ni ka bill kini central government ka kwa banwanra ya kini ki distribution companies kiba don kam tang ka registration kimdan kam ro license ban ai ka boarding te but kini ki distribution companies haba ki pan ya ka permission joki ya kini ka permission la khen bek bala yo what lada ko office ko bandai ban ai ka permission lada kam ai hapo kan ripo nyo process ski kata kamut tang ba apply ya ka registration lada yo ya kata registration ru la long kata kamut kai kalong ka ba PYRSHAH ya kini ka an ka rukom ban ai ka registration lani ban ai ka license ki ba pair ban trikam ka ba ar ka long ka jingat kani ka bill ru ka ailat ya ki company ba pair ban supply boarding lang rengkat bat ka utility ka bang ong ka discom lane hang ne hastet jongi i ong ka MeECL te kanja ayu lada kideki company ba pair kidwan lang kata kamut kandon ke cherry picking kini ki companies ki badai ki private companies kinwan kin jet ya kini ki jaka ki bangi khat ki profit center lani ki jaka ki bang khamtam bagi yo nong kumusyo ang no kam ku ba Shillong lani kini district headquarters ki jawai ki nong state terbat ki shnong ki ba kham la ban ai ki boarding kom ku Shangpung lani ki sora ter gunta te kini ki private companies kin wan jet ya kini ki bro te kini kan long kum do kan saktapat ya ke MeECL kaba kapat kan hap ai boarding pat ya kita ki bedok khamtam shanong kendong ti kabalai kalong kumne ba kaba khamtam kaba kene kalong ba kene ka bil kalong kanam ai lat ya kene ka state load dispatch center jongi kabangi ong ke SLDC bahkan supply ka boarding sa state jongi ngatai pitip ba shwa begini ki boarding kan ya man ke ye ni habyo ka supply order nang tin po SLDC kini ki SLDC rumunta kan one ho control ka central government but la batha kini ka bill ba kini ka state load dispatch center kanam la ban dispatch load lada kani katkum ka agreement jong ka contract kam clear ya ka payment jong ka contract te kata kamut lada ka state jongi ka state ka berik jongi ka syam kijing ban seal ya ka ban seal ya kata ka boarding ban thiet nabar ban ai chupat ba ban sam chupat ba kata kamut ngi hap experience biang ya ka load shedding but ngila ban ong ba lada kamla ba ban wan rai kata ka boarding ha ka por khamtam ki por telang ti kemut kan kata ba ya upat ba tika kawai ka ba kane ka bill ka kondon ka ba kata ba kadai khamtam ka kata ya ka state kadai ka ba ki khot ya ka renewable energy purchase obligation running RPO obligation katkum kani ka renewable purchase obligation borok kini state utilities kin hapet ya ke boarding khamtam buyo na ka sngi lani ki ongi solar energy hanrai housing itip baka solar energy hi habon kini ki utilities kimdan ki solar plant hanrai ngitip baha India hi ya kini solar plant beper la nyai da ki private companies ki bagi tip kum ki Adani Green ki Orient Green but dangshan u ambani rula rung ha kane ka business ba unsna no kita ki plan na ban sna boarding naka solar ka naka singi naka solar energy ti kai bangi syam kalong ba kane ka bill la thau kerpang nagmenta pen mentoy yo riu simet te shu kene ka bill ka bas ngusi bha kalong kumni ba lamba kene ka bill ka central government ka kini no ya ka bor jong ka state government nama kumbang itip kene ka electricity power kumai ong ka essential commodity kadai ka hab ka concurrent list jong ka constitution jong ka India kumta dakaba wanra ay kene ka bill ka kini no ya ka bor jong ka state ban thau ai lane ban perkhat halor kumno ban penpoi ya ka boarding chupai ba lane si karkhana na ne shibaro ki consumers repair te kajingle lemba ka ni ka bill ka central government kata kamut kila le ya ka AK ka bulong unconstitutional te sakawai ro ka ba snusi ka long ba lemba ka ni ka bill kila ay ka open access ha ka low tension level kamut ha kini ki level ko ba dunatam ka boarding ka dunatam ka level ko ba pun poy sayi ha kini ka bill claim ya thu mano ban sna ya kini infrastructure da matam pun poy bill pun poy ya ki light ya kini ki consumer ba thamai ya kini ka bill claim ya thu lada omla ban ai boarding syaki consumer barang thamai yonon keno pakane ka bill ru kam batai setia AA syapang kini ki nongrem kam batai setia syapang kini ki business ki ba red but kam tam ka kam batai AA ru kan jia ayu hadin belawan kini ka bill par hadin belawan kini company ba repair kan jia ayu ya kini ki employees lani ki NONGTREI jong kini ki electricity sector ki badan kumanga ki badan hadu arfu khalak ha kini kari teknik A baro kalong ko buskusi bat ngilap ba kani central government Kalau syuan ra ia ka electricity bill par ka kwa ban pa support ke parlimen ban thau ai klem da kinjok jengmut but ki stakeholders lane ki ba don tilang ha kene ka boarding ha ka company boarding te kene ka long ka ka bas ngusi bat ngi demand bat ngi kerpat ia ka central government bahkan khatlang ya baro kini ki badan bentah haga electric sector kum mangi ki employees kum ki consumers kum ta terter ba makiru ki ban tip ya ka central government ketemu banwan ra ya kena electricity bill but kenang ba dak bai selok lang nila ban pentebit ya kena bill mentah kasngi kala sedang kena ka ting sedang handrai kum feel like snow mene naki nokren repair ba ngin up ya ka order lane ka direction lane ka jing betha yangi nangte na naka National Coordination Committee of Electricity Employees ngi hab ha ka shetri jong kata phi tik namar kane ka jing ki kamde shu tang ka jong ka MECL kamde shu jing ki tang jong ka Assam nane jong ki state kala dei jong baro ka jong ka ri baro ka wei hakwa baro ki arpu nyau lak ki NONGTREI jong kini ka boarding kila ya mi madan ban PYRSHAH ni ka bel te ngin up ya ka bagi yu ka ko ka jing patha bagi yu nang te bat ngin ya chkhmat na kaliang jong ka government ngi khibi lenti bakum ki wei ki minister damneru u minister jong ka Punjab u la ai ki jing tho shu u prime minister bau ong ba kar kom le jong phi dak bon ra ya ni bil hapo ka parliament klem ni khinjo jing mot ya baro ki badan ti hagane ka kam boarding kalong kabam dei ber kalong bei ai kumta ula kerpat ki pas ngobha ban weng no ekani ka bil sen bat kinjo jimut lang baro bat sawan ra biang hadin kumta ngiru na kaliang jongi ni kerpat iyo chief minister badan buram jongi kumjo power minister badan buram jongi bakin shimya kane ga sinjam mamakiru kin tho saka central government baka central government kan weng shwai kan bil si steng por namar ba isuthu ba debu pase ni bil kan ta bhai ke jilla jongi khamtam ba ke jilla jongi ke de ke jilla ka ba duna bha ha ka revenue ba kimde ban don shu kano ka jing snow ha pedang jongki ba ki de ke ko ka party ni party ki de ban across the party line ki de ban don ka ka jing suthu naga ban ta ke interest jong state ka jongi ki de ban don ka ka jing mot ki de ban PYRSHAH ya ka bill but ki de ban raise ka voice ki hapo parliament PYRSHAH ya ka bill khnang ba ka bill kanam la ban pass hapo parliament shu ka ban kata ya ka state jongi ka long ba hadin bala wan kini company to prepare ban I like dan ban supply boarding ban kat bat ke MECL jongi kini ki companies kin shuan bek klem kano infrastructure handrai ya kini ki dagbo penan kam ya kini ki line ki substation ki jongi handrai kat ban pek lane ban le ya ka operation bat ka maintenance kan hab ya ka MECL jongi te kata ka ba long ka ba kini ki company sulong ki ba shu a ban kamai
plan batai lihat ki company ifrai
ki company kat kum kan ga electricity act menta kadang shu ong bet ba ki company ki ban one register pat kita company ngimtip hadu menta ki kita company mo handrai kum pangila tem shatai shapo shabar state la don ni katu kan ni company ki bala kum hapo Orissa la don ka Tata Power nang ta kumha Delhi kadon ka Torrent hapo Gujarat kadon ka Torrent kum ta nang ta kidon ki Adani Power pi kini ki company ki behe te shu halor kini tharai kinang don shu ki company ki berit ro ki kwa ban wan register ki hap shuan register back kin hap shu ai back shubu back registration application joki wat lada ka authority ka ban day man ai ya ka permission kum ka state regulatory electricity commission lada kam ai ya ka permission ro hadin ru hosngi la khen mek bala adam yo permission